Hello, everybody. This is David with Think and Act Locally. I'm here with Gabriel Vargas of USA Karate. We're down here in Houston, down by 45 in the Beltway. Yep. Gabriel, tell us a little bit about USA Karate yourself. Start wherever you want.
Yeah, so I started training actually here as a student. I was around 7 years old. It was for a birthday, a gift from my mom.
Okay, cool.
So we grew up down the street over there, run Highland Meadow area. So we've been here all that time. Came into it, changed our lives. Me and my twin brother started at the same time. I have a twin.
Okay.
So we started training. Mr. Tucker, the founder, started training us. Yeah, we have a picture of him all around the office, maybe over there.
Cool.
But yeah, so he started us off, and then we haven't been able to look back from then. We've been going forward. So
that's cool. So then, what disciplines are you?
Sure. So the USA Karate here, we emphasize more taekwondo, self-defense. When you first start, the basic kicks. Everyone's heard of front kick, roundhouse, hook kick, side kicks. We get into the, like I mentioned, the self-defense is basic. Effective techniques to escape. From whether it be a bully, whether it be an adult trying to harm someone. These are just things that we start off with. So then from there it progresses. We introduce some judo, some jiu-jitsu as well. So it's by the time you get to black belt, it's a very comprehensive system where you learn different arts.
Okay,
so
that's cool. I have no experience in training or anything. So
yeah, no, it's something that you just you're around it. It's like any other language. You're around it. You pick it up eventually. So, but I will say that Taekwondo's basically the foundation, and then we just build off from there. So a lot of schools nowadays, you get the strict, only one discipline. You get, and you get some schools that incorporate other things as well. So we're kind of the latter in that respect.
Okay, so that's cool. Who's your primary audience? Like who?
Sure.
Yeah.
So we do have a licensed school age program. So obviously that's school agers. We have a few vans that we pick up CCISD, some Pasadena ISD schools as well. During the summer, we have a full summer camp where we're open 7:30, 7 a.m., 7:30, all the way till 6 in the evening. So we have a good staff that comes in for that. Wow. Some of my staff have been with me for years as well. So, they have a good reputation, and, it's something we pride ourselves on as well. So, but we also do teach classes to adults as well. So we have those in the evenings too. So
okay.
I guess you can say all ages.
Yeah. Are you still enrolling for the summer classes? You guys full or?
Oh, we're still enrolling. Yeah, still enrolling. It's kind of, people usually wait till the last couple of weeks, and
wait till the last minute to get signed up.
Yeah. So, but we're looking forward to, we have a lot of regulars that come in, we just see them once a year, and it's a lot of fun though, because, we'll go to field trips, Children's Museum, we go skating, and then it also includes the karate class in the morning. So it's a jam-packed day, very routine, which the kids like and thrive on. So
okay, that's cool. Is there anything more that you'd like to say about that? Now is a chance advertise.
Yeah, the school age program, just as long as they're school age, they're looking to improve on their, self-defense, their physical, abilities. Karate is one of the best ways. It helps you the mind, the body, everything. So something I highly recommend, So yeah, it'll be a lot of fun. We're looking forward to it. I've been spending the last couple of weeks booking field trips and events and things like that. So
okay.
So yeah.
That's cool. All right. I see some pictures on the wall.
Sure.
Anthony Bourdain up there.
Yeah. That was I was in my jiu-jitsu class. So I train in jiu-jitsu as well as here. So I teach here and I train over in jiu-jitsu under Professor Marcelo, a guy that has helped me tremendously throughout my training and, my life. But yeah, I was in there training, and then he came to train Anthony Bourdain, and I didn't really know who he was at first. So one of my fellow colleagues mentioned, you better get a picture of it with him. And I was like, okay, let me do that. So, and of course, after I took the picture, I went home and I researched a little bit. I was like, hey, he met President Obama. That's pretty cool. I rolled with somebody that has, met a president before.
Yeah.
So that's something that hasn't ever happened. So
yeah,
I was very, which is what I like about martial arts in general, is that it puts you in contact with a lot of different people that you never know, that you might have never come in contact with. So whether it be here at my school or over there training in jiu-jitsu, going to a tournament, you meet a wide variety of people. So it's something that I don't take for granted. So
yeah, people you wouldn't expect.
Exactly. Yeah. I wanted on a note on Anthony Bourdain, when we were rolling, he did submit me. I think it was like a knee bar or something like that. I was probably at the time a white belt or blue belt. So it was kind of new to me too. So to meet a celebrity, get submitted by him, I mean, it's pretty awesome. You know, it's not good to get submitted, but it happens. It's a part of learning. It's something that you get better from it. So
No,
which
that's
is what
cool.
I like about it too.
It's one degree of separation. He rolled with Joe Rogan too.
That's cool.
They used to train.
Yeah, that's amazing.
Or they did stuff together.
Yeah, I watch Joe Rogan a lot on YouTube too. So
Yeah.
it's pretty cool seeing how the world, how you can connect with different people.
Yeah. And through the martial arts, it's something that it can level the playing ground between between people,
Oh, for sure. Yeah, because when you go step onto a mat, the dojo, everyone's equal. There's no one better. You'll have your rough days, you'll have your good days, but that's just in life too.
Right.
So, you go and you have to go in with an open mind, no matter what happens, so you have to take it and just roll with it, and you go with it. It's what we teach the students all the time, that you have to just be able to face it. It's really hard, especially the young ones, because, everything's about winning right now. Everybody wants to come out on top.
Yeah.
That does happen, but it takes a lot of work, but people don't see that. So it's something that, another good thing about martial arts, it teaches them. It humbles you.
Yeah.
Whether it be karate, whether it be jujitsu, you're going to be humbled. If you're not, then you're not in the right spot. You have to, it's a part of it.
Yeah.
So it goes hand in hand. So.
Today the learning curve on things, people, I don't know, humility is something we all could learn.
For sure. Definitely. Yeah. No matter what, you've been in it for years, you're still going to learn. I got promoted under Professor Marcelo in Jiu-Jitsu to black belt recently. I think it was, in the fall, I got promoted, but I posted that, no matter what years you train, you're always a beginner. It doesn't matter, what level you are. There's always going to be someone out there that's going to outdo you, always. So that's just more of a challenge to, push yourself to improve, your mind, your body, everything. So there's
cool.
never really a resting point. You just keep going. So
that's cool.
Yeah,
I also see
for sure.
That's Mattress Mac up there.
Yeah, he was just it was weird. I was there with my mom. We were just shopping around, and I looked at him because, of course, everyone knows who he is. I looked at him. He just said, "Hey, come over here, get a picture with me." I was like, "Okay, that's cool. Let me come stay with you." But very friendly, very, I'm praying for him. I know he had just had surgery, not too long ago. I think it's heart surgery, if I'm not mistaken. I just hear on the radio. So
yeah.
So praying for him, of course, because I know he's does a lot for the Houston community.
Yeah, no, he's definitely a local celebrity.
For sure.
He does a lot for the community.
Yeah, and just seeing him, at his peak level, just, reach out to someone like me who doesn't even know, just to come and take a picture is really cool.
Yeah.
It kind of teaches, people how to, just be like that. Just be like, "Hey, what's up? Come on, come take a picture with me."
Yeah.
It's very inviting, very, very neat. So,
yeah. No, he's a cool guy.
Yeah.
So I saw over here you have your plaques with all the people that have gotten black belts under the school.
Yeah. So the school was founded in 1990 when we started. We used to be over, of course, this is before I was enrolled. I was, I don't know, 2 or 3 at the time, but over where Gerland's off Scarsdale Boulevard, So I remember that's where I started as well. I was, like I said, 7 years old. And then in 2007, we switched over to this location. So my stepfather, at that time he was my stepfather. Him and my mother purchased this land here and then, started building this building. So it's something that he had planned for a long time. We'd been through a lot at the other center, 2 fires, from natural causes, things like that put it was tough on us for a time. So just being over here gave us a little bit more freedom. We don't have to worry about, rent. Well, of course we do have a mortgage, but we don't have to worry about neighbors yelling at us for being too loud or slamming into the walls. So it's a little bit better.
Okay. So, no, that's cool.
So yeah.
I saw that there were there's people that got their black belts even during the times of COVID.
Yes.
You guys were
that was a crazy time.
Yeah. Tell me about it.
Yeah, that was just getting the calls. When I think about COVID, I just remember getting call after call. "Oh, we're going to pause our account because of COVID," which I understand. I'm not going to argue with it. It's a part of it. And I just thought, "Oh man, how are we going to make it through this?" Just thinking about that. But we did get through it. We did some online classes for a time. What saved us a lot is since we're a licensed daycare, we were able to stay open for that. I know that we had some restrictions as far as what businesses could be open at the time, but since we were licensed, we're kind of okay to do it. So I know some parents still had to work, so they would bring their kids here, and they'd be doing their school online. We'd have computers set up for them. They'd be doing their schooling and all that. So, and then of course we teach them their karate class. We had our mask on and all that. So,
right.
So yeah, it was a very different time, but we made it through. And I know a lot of businesses couldn't make it through.
Yeah.
It was a rough one.
No,
so,
that's.
And honestly, I still think that we're still feeling the effects of it. I don't think it's gone away quite yet. I think it's still around. So it's I think the whole landscape of employment has changed since then. A lot of people still work from home,
Right.
Which kind of lessens their necessity for, a daycare, So I'm still feeling that a little bit. It's getting better. I know that with summer coming up, it's going to get better.
Year after year, you're getting back to. Are you back to pre-COVID enrollment or not yet?
As far as evening classes, I would say we are. As far as daycare, probably not yet. As far as the daycare.
Okay, so it's the daycare that's really.
Yeah, I think just like I said, a lot of parents, they're not going to pay for something they don't, absolutely need.
Right.
If they can manage getting their kid home, he can walk home, be at home for an hour on his own. What's the point of having him, paying to have him somewhere else? So which I totally understand. If I were a parent, I'd probably do the same.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, as far as evening classes though, I think those are pretty steady. That's pretty back to normal. So of course, you can always use more students, use more, clientele. That's business.
That's business.
Yeah, that's business, and everyone that comes in through the doors, we make it a point to make them feel at home, welcome. It's not just about the money or the business, it's about building relationships. That's something that we've done for years and years. That's how we've been able to stay in this, since 1990, since we were established. It's just, people, I have students that bring, their kids, because I've known them. So it makes me feel old, of course, but it's just a really cool thing to see that. Someone that you knew, grows up, brings their kids back to you.
Generational
yes,
students.
I've had grandkids, I don't really know the grandparents, but I know of them, just see them coming back. It's pretty phenomenal.
No, that's cool. And that speaks something about your business too,
for sure.
that you're,
Yeah, and all that goes back to, our founder, Mr. Tucker, who, taught his instructors or taught his students, how to relate to people, how to get your message across, effectively, respectively, all of that. It's something that people pay attention to. They respect that, and I appreciate that. So.
Yeah, no, that's cool.
Yes, sir. Yeah, it's all really good, good things, that come from it. So we'll keep doing it. So
the business aspect of it, what do you guys do for outreach? Like you guys do your marketing and
yeah, I know that it's funny because we recently did. It was probably end of last year or spring of last year. We did a little thing for the local church over here, St. Luke's. I'm a member of that church as well.
Okay.
We just go out and do a little show, and give them some information about the school, things like that.
Like you did like a performance
exactly.
at the,
at
the church?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's good people seeing, what we do,
See it in action.
Yeah, see it in action.
You got suited up and you were...
Yeah, I was actually doing it with a little, because I had to stand in for somebody actually.
Okay.
But it was a lot of fun. We did some Arnie sticks. We did some forms, some katas. I don't know if you're familiar with that. That's where
that's the slow motion.
Yeah. Here, a little bit faster. Kung Fu's a little bit more slow, more,
Okay.
this is, kicks, punches, fancy stuff, we've so we did a little show there. That's fun. Sometimes the local schools, like I said, Weber Elementary's down the street. We've done some spring shows over there. A few years ago, we did the Rockets demonstrations. We got on the court for the pregame show.
Cool.
That's a lot of fun. Just seeing the Rockets. Me as the little kid seeing the Rockets walk by. Something you'd think you'd never see.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, things.
No, I saw the Clyde Drexler jersey up there, but that looks like that's a U of H though, huh? Jersey.
I'm not
It's before your time, huh?
Probably, before my time. But I know, so his nephew was actually a student here in the daycare.
Okay.
During that time. So I think that's how we got the hookup on that.
Okay, that's cool.
So yeah, that's pretty, that was a while back.
Yeah.
I was probably, I don't know, a young teenager at that time. But I do remember that happening and going to the demonstration, all that. So
that's cool.
But yeah, we love just going out, introducing ourselves to the community, doing things like that. I have some instructors here that come and help me do that. We go to local tournaments sometimes with students, where they get to do things under pressure a little bit. It's one thing to do it here, but to go out in public and do it in front of judges, in front of people that you don't know.
Right.
That's amazing too. So.
You guys do any of you see, I don't know if it's for show, but like breaking boards and all that kind of stuff?
Yeah, for show,
too?
for fun. We do that for like leisure. I know that some schools, they do testing on that too. Like you get your belt if you can do this, so. I know during the holidays, I like to get out. We have some boards that are pre-broken so that they kind of snap back on. You know? So we just practice with those. It's more of a fun thing, But there is some technique into it because you need to know how to breathe, how to hit it in the right spot with the right part of your hand. All of that's important,
Right.
So
you can still hurt yourself.
Still hurt yourself, So I don't let the little kids, because I don't want them hurting their hand. Because once you mess up your hand, it's not the same. Especially for a little kid. So, but it's a lot of fun. I know Mr. Tucker. When we did the grand opening here around 07, in the parking lot, we had some boards. They were wood, actual wood with we lit them on fire and then broke through those. That was really cool. I remember that like it was yesterday. So
No, that's a show.
That
cool.
was a special day when we did the grand opening here. We got to do that. There's probably a couple hundred people inside this facility. You know, we came out here, did some katas and forms and all that. So it's a good time. You know, again, just martial arts, thinking about what you do and me. It's really cool. Yeah,
it's cool. So much. Just saying that about. So much is technology based today that now this is one of those few things that's like.
I was thinking about that.
It's just you.
I was thinking
just you and whoever the other person is and the floor. And
I was thinking
that's
about that. You have to know, you know, like
AI ain't gonna help you.
Exactly. You know, that's kind of, if there's one good thing about AI taking over, whatever, it's like I'm pretty safe in this area just because. You have to know how to relate to people. You know, you have to know how to get your message across. You have to be personable. All of that. You know, AI can't do that.
AI is not going to come out here and teach you to.
Yeah, of course you can look up. You know, how do you do this form? How do you do this?
Or whatever.
Let me go on YouTube. Let me do this. You know, but
reading it, I'm sure, is very difficult. Because that's typically how it responds. Is just in text or. Maybe one day it'll talk to you.
Maybe, you never know.
Like they could do the voice and whatever, but it's just not I think that you're right.
But that's what I like about it, in that
you're safe here.
Yeah, not everyone can do it too. You have to be a certain, you know, you have to think a certain way. You have to honestly, you have to put a lot of people in front of you. You know, you have to, you know, make sure they get it. You know, you have to accommodate. When you're in business, you have to accommodate. You know, some people are like, oh, you're a business, you can do whatever you want. Not really. I have many bosses. Like, it's not, I have
all
students,
of your clients,
I have parents, I have staff members.
Right.
There's many people that I have to answer to, you know, and yes, being a business owner, you know, it has its positives, but there's a lot of things that people don't see that you have to deal with. You know, behind closed doors. Whether that be, you know, a complaint, whether that be, you know, an issue with a staff member, there's always something, you know. I'm very blessed in that I've worked with really good people for a long time. So we know each other pretty well. We can address things, you know, so I'm very happy about that. You know, you go work for a big corporation, you don't know who you're working with sometimes. You know? So there's always positives and negatives to everything. So, you know, the hours sometimes can be long, but I feel very fulfilled when things go well. You know, of course, they don't always go well, you know, no matter how much you do, you know, but it's very fulfilling to be able to see, you know, your work, you know, just
manifest in like
it's
your hard work.
It's an amazing thing, and I can't take credit for everything because again, it's my staff, it's, you know, our foundation that has helped, you know. But I'm just happy to be a part of the journey.
No business like your disciplines too, karate or whatever. It's built on generational knowledge being passed down, and so same thing with business too. You were taught business lessons from the people before you.
Yes.
And so it's like you're a different. It's a different discipline, but it's kind of the same.
Exactly.
You know?
It's you know, you learn
cash flow management and all that good stuff.
Yeah, you take what's been done previously and you change it because times are changing. You know, you have to
adjust. Well, if nothing more than COVID right there, that's like a master class in being able to adjust. And it happened that you guys had your daycare license already, which helped you guys.
That helped tremendously. You know, otherwise we probably wouldn't be able to stay open. You know, just having that income come in during that time. You know, of course it wasn't the normal income that we normally get, but you know, we still made it through. That's all that. You know, that's what matters.
No, but then that's where your business black belt came into play. To be able to manage your cash flow and just make it all, keep your team together.
It's funny, That's how it is. Honestly, that's how it is. You know, you just like we were saying, you look at what was done before you. You know, and you just grow and you change. You do what you need to do to get by. You know, and you have to. If you stay stagnant, you're not gonna make it.
Yeah.
You know. So.
No, that's cool.
Yeah, it's a harsh reality, but it's reality.
Look, it's business.
It's business.
For those who own and operate businesses, they understand.
Yeah.
Or they're learning.
They're learning.
If they're new to business. And if you're an employee, then maybe you don't know, but it's running a business it's a skill to it. Especially on a smaller level, like this is there's a difference. We do have very large businesses around here. That's a different thing altogether too, you know, versus a small, more of a mom and pop shop.
Exactly, it's for sure. I agree.
Because you don't have a whole bunch of different departments doing things.
Correct.
It's you.
Correct.
And you get to switch hats.
That's true. You wear many hats all the time, whether it be payroll, whether it be, you know, teaching, whether it be, customer relations, there's always something.
Right. Yeah.
It could be a medic, first aid, something, someone gets cut in the classroom, someone gets scratched, someone gets a black eye,
Right.
Doesn't happen often, but it does happen. We are a contact sport, so it's bound to happen.
Do you have, is it often that you have students have conflict, like real conflict, or they?
Luckily, no, not really. Usually we're able to handle it pretty fairly in a good way.
Separate them and put them with different partners.
It's the normal, young kids arguing with each other. We just solve it. We talk to them, sit down, talk with them. That's about it. So, of course, older guys when they're in their training, sometimes the adrenaline gets pumping. They're, and they,
they're fighting.
They go at it. They're fighting. It's, but it's not always a bad thing when that happens. Because that's how you discover yourself. You discover your potential when you're in that.
And if you're not pushing the boundaries of that, like part of it too. That I think, at least I got younger kids, today their ability to regulate their emotions. When you're fighting, you talked about the adrenaline dump. Being able to manage your emotions, I think, is a very important thing.
Yeah.
And so when you're fighting, can't think of much more emotional time than when you are
I've seen
face to face with somebody.
Yeah. Now that you mentioned that, I've seen and this happens a lot in sparring. Someone gets punched in the stomach. Of course it hurts. They get the wind knocked out of them. They get pretty emotional, so they go charging at the person. I'm like, don't charge at the person. That'll make it worse. And that happens. Because they're not thinking. They just want to act.
Yeah.
But when you do that, you're gonna get. Usually 9 times out of 10, you're gonna get. Get worse.
Yeah.
So you have to think about what you're gonna do. It's not just act off of emotion, which is what I love again about martial arts, and that it teaches you that.
Yeah.
You might not know that's what it's teaching you, but it is. So. That's why I love the sparring class. So we spar here weekly on Fridays. Sparring is where they're actually, fighting, kicking, punching, and all that. So we usually start off with the technique, and then we start the sparring. Kids love the free sparring. We've been introducing, since my foundation and my background's in jiu-jitsu as well, we've been going to the ground. After stand up, you take it to the ground, you start rolling from there, and it's good combining the two arts. So that but again, you have to think about what you're doing. You have to think about the movements, because if you move wrong, then you're screwed.
You get caught.
Yeah, you get caught. So if you move the wrong way, or if you turn your body the wrong way, you get caught. So it's all a mind game. It's all working your mind, which is really good. So it's your physical and your mental, everything. So but it teaches students you gotta think about what you're doing. Don't just run in. Think about where you're turning. Think about where you're focused. Where's your mind? All of that.
Yeah.
So.
I personally don't have experience, but like everybody else, I listen to Joe Rogan, and I think that he has put it succinctly, and I forget exactly how he says this, but it's problem solving with dire physical consequences.
Exactly.
So if you're putting together the puzzle fights back.
Yeah. And what's good here is that, all the students, they're monitored by very, trained, qualified staff members, my instructors, some of them who've been black belts for 4 to 5 years, or 3 years, they've been around. So they know, if someone's obviously in danger, or someone's about to get hurt, of course we intervene and be like, hey,
right.
So that's the whole, of course, older students, we can give them a little bit more freedom because they know they know
testing their boundaries and everything. Yeah.
And, they know their limitations a little bit more, so we can let them have a little bit more freedom. But the young ones, you got to watch a little bit, make sure they're not, getting their arm broken or, falling asleep from getting choked or, it's just, so that's having a good balance, having good staff members that can do that. That's another good thing. You want to have those around. And so.
Safety first.
Safety first.
Yeah.
And then you need to, safety first, and then you work from there.
But you got to let them push their boundaries in order to learn and to grow and to become better.
And that's tough to do sometimes for, some parents will be looking, in there seeing their, kid get hit, but like they're okay,
Right.
So they have to be able to trust our judgment and that we know, who we're putting them with, they don't, parents sometimes want to choose, okay, can he not go with them or can he not spar with them? It's like, no, it doesn't work that way. You have to let us do our job.
Right.
Of course we're here for their safety. Of course we're looking out for them, but if you, protect them from getting better, you're not really helping them. You're, in a way it's
holding them back.
Yeah. They're not going to know their true abilities or skills. You do that.
Yeah. It's an opportunity too for the parents to learn. I know that helicopter parenting is kind of a thing these days.
Yeah.
Well, I have my own tendencies too. I want to protect my child. That's a natural tendency. Mothers maybe more than dads, but
I've had both.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, I think it's for both.
Yeah.
And we just but that goes back to what you were speaking to before about the relationships, having the relationships with the parents and them trusting you to
It's
care, because when the kids are here, they're under your care.
exactly, and you have to trust us.
Yes.
It's funny.
It doesn't
how,
benefit you for
yeah.
the kids to get hurt, because then the word
exactly.
gets out.
They have to think about that too.
Yeah.
It's not, and I'm very lucky and blessed. I haven't seen many, of course, accidents do happen. I had one girl many years ago. She was doing a takedown, fell, hurt her collarbone, but it's totally, the way she fell. It was no one hurt her. It just,
Right.
Like I said, it's
sometimes
a
accidents happen.
accidents happen, but that goes back to what you're saying about the relationship, because it's not only with the student, but the parent has to understand, there's many things we're looking at, and the parent has to know that, we're looking out for them too, but you need to let us look out for them, let us do our job,
Right.
I don't want to see anyone get hurt, I don't want to see anyone get seriously injured, but getting the wind knocked out of you is not a severe thing. You learn how to deal with it. You breathe out. You have to know how to take those punches.
Right.
Just like in life, you got to take the hits. You just have to know how to breathe, know how to move. It comes, it just takes time. It doesn't happen overnight.
Right.
So it's pretty cool.
Not the days, I don't know, Cobra Kai and all that.
Yeah.
I'm sure not all the gyms have the same philosophy, but I don't know.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah, people talk about Cobra Kai all the time to me because they know I'm involved with karate. They're like, has your business picked up because of Cobra Kai? Cobra Kai is like, it's about the same, nothing big, but, do you teach like they do, in that gym? What's the gym, his name of the school? Miyagi-Do, or what's the other one?
I don't even know.
Yeah, but he's asking me if I teach like that. I was like, no, I would never talk like that to the students. But that's out of humor. It's funny, it's funny.
Drama and the Karate Kid movies back in the day and all that. Yeah.
I remember watching all that. We started karate because of Walker, Texas Ranger. We used to watch it all the time with my dad.
Chuck Norris.
Chuck Norris,
Hell yeah.
It's funny how all the memes go around nowadays.
Right.
Yeah. They were talking about what was it? I'm sure you heard about 100 people fighting a gorilla or whatever.
Yeah.
I saw a meme with Chuck Norris that he'd be able to.
It only takes one Chuck Norris.
Yeah.
It might take 100 men, but it takes one Chuck Norris.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's crazy.
But yeah, that's the whole reason, So back in, the 90s when Chuck Norris and Power Rangers, all of them, Ninja Turtles, all of those things that my brother and I were like, hey, we want to learn how to do this. Let's go to karate. Let's go sign up, So my mom signed us up. So.
But now jiu-jitsu is taking over, huh?
Jiu-jitsu is very popular, it's grown a lot. I started it in 2016 and I never looked back from there. So, and the reason why I started it is just because I know I had a lot of experience with the stand-up, the kicking, the punching. I competed locally. I did katas, tournaments, but I wanted to get better on the ground, with my foundations, with that. So that's why I started that, and I'm glad I did, because I met, like I said, different people, and it's kind of complemented what I've learned here. So all of that together has made me a better martial artist in that respect, and able to relate to different things a little bit.
And so you have competed a little bit. UFC is real big now and all that kind of stuff. You get a lot of interest in from people coming in and from that aspect.
Yeah, more locally, not really UFC, just because we're not really a MMA kind of school. Because MMA, that's where they the kicks and the punches. They take you to the ground, you keep going. So we're in a way we do the sparring and then we do the ground techniques. But yeah, I was saying, I know that with jiu-jitsu, the IBJJF is a big organization for that and stuff. So I have experience there doing that. And my goal is to continue competing in that as a black belt too. So, but all of it it's really, competition, it just brings another aspect to the art. So it's a different mindset that you have to be prepared for. So, but yeah, we do have students that come that want to compete locally. So we help train them, they can do their kata in front of judges. They can do what we call point sparring. It's almost like tag, you make a technique.
But that's more kicking and punching.
More kicking and punching, exactly.
Yeah.
But I do know that jiu-jitsu's kind of appearing a lot in the local tournaments. I've noticed that over the last few years, And
it's just added like an additional discipline.
Exactly, an extra division, something the kids can sign up for. So,
how often do they have tournaments and
probably
stuff around
every
here?
weekend now.
Really?
Yeah, probably every weekend now. So, there's different organizations right now. We used to do the AOK back, so sometimes we'll go hit up one of those, or I know there's another one, if I'm TK or something, I forget the division, what it's called, but that's another local one we've been to several times. So sometimes a few students will go out there, we'll go out, support. Some of the instructors will come out, support. It's a lot of fun. So.
And that's all, I guess it's just all over the place, wherever they have the thing.
There's so many different organizations.
Well, it seems now that there's schools everywhere.
Yeah.
but all of different disciplines and whatnot. So
and we will sometimes have a little in-school ones here, more friendly capacity just for our students here. So
maybe around belt promotions and that kind of
that's
stuff.
a good idea too. Yeah, because it kind of tells us how they're doing. How they perform under pressure.
Yeah.
I never make it like, oh, you get first place, you get this belt. It's not about that. It's just going out there and just getting out of your comfort zone a little bit and trying your best.
How do you know when a student is ready to move up?
That's a good question. So there is a
because it seems it's a little bit.
I love that question.
It's a little bit. Questionable. I don't know. Well, for the little kids, I just see it because my son, like, he gets it, and it's when they're young, and he's older. He's 10, almost 11 now.
Yeah.
But then there's the little ones that have more advanced belts than my son does, and then he's better. It's just.
So I have a question. Do they do testing for your son for tests?
They will, but we've only gotten back into it because he did jiu-jitsu before, and now he's doing more karate.
Okay.
And so it's different.
Yeah, it's different.
And but I'm sure that they do, and they're whatever they have their.
Like their ceremonies or something?
I don't know. We haven't experienced all that. He just gotten back into it a few weeks
So
ago.
I will say, I liked your question about like how we know. So that again goes back to the relationship to the student. You got to kind of know where they're coming from, who they are, what their potential is, and it takes time to develop that, So there is a time requirement. I know, for example, I don't know if you can see the belts, but white belt, usually it takes around 6, to 8 weeks to get a white belt. So let's say, a student comes in with prior training, they train at another place for like a couple years, they're going to get there a little bit faster probably just because of the foundation. So, but if it's someone starting from scratch, doesn't know anything, you're looking at a good 6 to 8 weeks for the first belt, So what we do is we train them for those 6 weeks. We watch their progress. Yeah. And nothing's set in stone. So let's say a kid is kind of, not learning at the, as he should.
Yeah.
We'll just wait a little bit. It's no biggie. We just wait a little bit. We test them.
But you don't want to hold it off too long because then they get.
We don't want them to lose interest. Yeah, we don't want them to do that. But we don't want to
give them away.
Yeah,
like it's
be
candy.
like, hey, where's my belt? Oh, here you go. Yeah. No, it's not about that. You have to show that you understand the material. You have to show that you mastered it. When I say mastered it, of course not. You don't have to be black belt level. But
well, you master it for that level.
Yeah,
for the appropriate level.
For that age, for that rank, you have to be able to demonstrate this.
At any point, do the belts start over age-wise? Because if I'm going here from 5 years old and I make it up to whatever, a yellow or I see kids with the orange belt or whatever,
That's a good question too. Yeah, so the only way, so we have Mighty Mites obviously, so that's like 3, 4, and 5-year-olds. So when they get to the, regular karate, then it basically starts over,
Okay.
So, but like I said,
but they don't start back at like a white belt.
No, they usually keep their rank. They just keep their rank that they had.
Yeah.
But it'll be a while, and when they're ready, then they'll go to like, for example, the orange belt.
Yeah. Because there's a difference in a 8-year-old orange belt or a 15-year-old orange belt.
And that's what I tell people, like, when it's time for testing, that 15-year-old might, progress a little bit quicker just because he's getting a little bit faster.
And they're more physically able to.
Yeah,
because
there's so much.
There's that.
It's a whole nother world.
Especially for little boys, there's that awkward stage there between whatever 10 and 13 where.
Yeah.
Because my kid, like, he's tall and everything, but he's all knees and elbows and.
Yeah. But that's a good, that's the whole nother thing, as far as belt promotions there's a lot that goes into it, and we just want to make sure that they are excelling, how they're supposed to be, and they're doing good. Sometimes it does take longer, but again, martial arts teaches, it takes time to do things,
patience, humility,
all of that. Yeah, it's a tricky thing, but the instructor knows. We have to trust that the instructor knows what they're looking at. They know what the student's potential is, and they know where they need to be. They can question it, but like, oh, but I've been here longer and I saw this person get it. It's not about that. Just because you saw your friend get this doesn't mean you're owed it. You have to, you have to show that you can earn it. Yeah. So. But of course, a lot of victim mentality nowadays is like, oh, I'm going to quit because they got promoted. It's unfair. I don't like it.
Life's not fair.
It's very rarely like that. We're very, you have to be very fair. We look at everything, very clearly, then we make a decision,
Right.
And if it's not ready, okay, you can wait for the next promotion. It won't be that much longer, just keep pushing yourself, keep working.
Yeah,
but you quit, you're not getting anything, you just, so.
No, but that's a tough lesson for kids to learn.
It is.
That goes back to their emotional regulation and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So do you guys have like like a saying or anything that goes with?
Yeah, we have like at the beginning we have like a student creed.
Okay.
It's based on the Junri system. So he's the the individual that was responsible for bringing Taekwondo over to the States here.
Okay.
So the beginner level, a lot of our beginner level curriculum is based on that system. Some of his self-defense. And like I said, the student create the basic commands like choyo, which means attention, kyungi, bow, sh. All of that's from the Junri system that we still use to this day.
Okay.
So it's crazy how you think about something that's been around for so long is still in the system.
Yeah.
Just like our founder, Mr. Tucker, like a lot of the things like our Kabuto classes where we teach weapons like nunchuck, our knee sticks, bow. All of those are things that he introduced that we still continue till this day. So I have a lot of students that love doing that. They come once a week, and we're teaching a kata called Dragon with double nunchucks, where they're with music and all that.
Really?
So yeah, it's a lot of fun.
Do you have any videos of any of that stuff?
Probably.
Because that would be
online.
great if
Yeah.
you guys did a YouTube channel or something.
Yeah, I know we have a YouTube channel. There's some katas on there. I don't know about those the musical ones yet, just because we're in the process of learning them, like relearning them again. So it's going to take time to get someone apt at it to where
proficient enough to where it's like makes a good
But I would
video.
love to do that because I know we're having a promotion here on Friday, a Black Belt promotion. So some of the guys will be doing some weapon stuff. So maybe we can post those.
Yeah, no, that's cool.
that'd
That would
be-
be great to.
That'd be a good idea.
And that's exactly the type of, like you were talking about, the performance or whatnot that people just love to see because it's exciting.
It is. It's
And
something
nunchucks, that's like.
everyone thinks of nunchuck.
Nunchucks
when
are
you
awesome.
think karate.
Michelangelo, Ninja Turtles.
Bruce Lee. They tell me about
Bruce
the video
Lee,
of him putting out the flames. With
Yeah, right.
with the nunchuck.
Yeah. No, any weapon stuff is all cool because it's. I mean.
Yeah.
It's all like you said, going back so far.
Yes.
It's
a
different time, a different culture, and
you just and it just gives you a glimpse into how much we do here as far as weapons, jiu-jitsu, judo, karate, sparring, promotions. There's a lot of things that go on, a lot of things. So most of my weekends are spent thinking about, okay, what's coming up next week? What do I need to prepare for? What summer camp, activities coming up? Who do I need to have open? What staff member is going to be here for that? This staff member is going to college. Who's going to replace him? How am I going to have this figured out? So it's a lot of mental gymnastics there that has to happen.
Yeah.
So
mental judo
as well as physical judo.
Yeah.
So
no, that's cool. So what do you think is the biggest challenge that you guys are facing as a gym right now?
You can go back to customer relations, just making sure keeping our customers happy to where they eager to come back and train, eager to come back and see what they're going to learn in class. So keeping things fluid, keeping it, I'm trying to get away from being predictable. I want them to be on their toes all the time, ready to learn something, So I've been introducing, with my training in jiu-jitsu, I've been trying to show a little bit, different approaches to different self-defense techniques, because I don't want them to think, that there's one way to do only one way to escape from something. There's many ways to escape from something. It doesn't matter how you do it. You just have to be able to do it.
Yeah.
So, but customer relationships, keeping the parents happy, keeping the students happy. For my adult students, making sure they're feeling challenged enough to want to come back and train more. I have one student. He recently got an orange belt. He's I think he's 63, 64 years old.
Oh wow.
And he's been being consistent. So I check on him. How you doing? How's your body feeling? So being as accommodating as possible, So, but he's hanging in there. He's hanging in there with all the other guys. So
that's cool.
It's something good to see that someone has the courage to come out and do that. Especially at that age.
Yeah. So your adult classes, how you pretty well? You have a bunch of clients that are men and women.
Yes, I do. One, I think predominantly more male right now. I have a few females actually. Well, I mean, it's probably about equal now after thinking about it. So I have one guy. He's a doctor of oncology, I believe. So he's been training. His daughter got a black belt from us. So he's been seeing his daughter train. He had another daughter start. Then he decided to start. So he came in and joined us. So yeah, the adults do well, and it's good with them just because seeing their, we can take a different approach with them. A little bit older, they can understand things a little bit differently. So
yeah.
So it's a good thing to be able to do that. Share our knowledge with people like that.
Yeah.
So
keep your body young and your mind young.
Exactly.
Out here trying to.
Yep. For sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
So yeah.
Anything we missed? Anything that you wanted to share that I didn't ask a question about it or anything?
No, just that I always want to thank, again, my staff and then, my family. Of course, couldn't do this without them. So, and then of course the customer, the community. The South Belt area in Houston has been I've been very fortunate to be a part of it. And just thankful for that. So.
Well, that's great.
And hopefully many years to come to keep training and working and teaching and spreading our love of martial arts with the community. So.
Well, that's cool. It looks like you guys have an excellent program here.
Yes, sir.
Anybody should be happy to have their kids here to learn.
Yeah.
And I think that today with all the screens and everything for the kids, like we're not able to avoid it. So taking a break from the screens and doing something like this, I think is an excellent way for kids to develop discipline and get the physical activity that we all need. Our bodies are meant to move.
That's true.
And I think that martial arts is an excellent way to
yeah, I agree.
That. Yeah,
I agree. That's very
so, all right.
Yes, sir.
Well, Gabriel, I don't have anything else. So
nope, we're good.
It's been good to speak with you. I enjoyed the conversation. Everyone, continue to think and act locally, and come see this guy.
Sounds good.
We'll see you.
Thank you, David.